Ash remembers what fire forgets. And silence is a spell stronger than any spoken word. They still call it Hollow Street, though no map marks it anymore. The houses lean toward one another like they share a secret. And between two crumbling walls, there is a narrow passage most people pretend not to see. They say a witch once lived beyond that alley, in a house older than the town itself. They say the door still breathes.
I first walked that way on a cold October evening. The air felt heavier there, and from somewhere inside the darkness came 3 slow knocks. Not from a door, but from beneath the ground. Curiosity pulled me forward until I stood before a forgotten yard covered in ash. At its center rose a black wooden house, crooked and silent. The door did not open, it sighed, exhaling the scent of something burned long ago.
A black handprint marked the wood. It was small, almost childlike. My own hand fit perfectly inside it. Before I could step back, I felt eyes watching me from behind a grime-covered window. A single amber eye stared, unblinking. A voice whispered inside my skull, not through my ears.
Evening, child, mind your feet. The house eats what is dropped.
The door sighed again. Warmer this time, I stepped inside.
The air was thick with the scent of herbs and forgotten apples. Bundles of dried plants and bones hung from the ceiling. At the foot of a staircase stood a woman, neither old nor young, but worn like stone, shaped by centuries. Her dress was as black as the space between stars, and around her throat was a ribbon of ash.
They called me witch, she said, her voice soft as dust. But names are only knives, they cut, but they cannot bind.
She led me up creaking stairs papered with court records. The ink had bled into one long bruised dates older than the town stained the walls. On the second floor, a small room bulged upward from the floorboards, thudding softly like a hidden heartbeat. Nails had been driven in a circle, each tied with a ribbon of ash. Asked politely, she whispered, "Who are you?" I asked and placed my palm upon the wood. It was warm images flooded my mind. A boy running, a mob chasing fire, rope silence. A name pressed into my thoughts, Thomas.
Too brave, too late, she said. He knocked for days before I learned how to listen sideways.
Let him out, I begged.
She smiled without teeth. Out is not always better than through. She handed me a hammer worn smooth by time pull. One by one I pried the nails free, each release warming the floor beneath me. When the last was gone, the plank rose like a chest taking a breath. Beneath it lay pages singed by fire, a child's skull with perfect teeth, coins fused by heat, a charm of nails bound with hair.
Put it around your neck, she said. The charm pulsed against my skin. The house exhaled, lighter now, freer. We pulled a thorn from the tongue of this place. She whispered, now it may speak without bleeding.
At the door she paused.
They will call you witch if you carry any fire they cannot explain. Do not correct them.
What should I call you? call me hollow, she said. It will remind you that emptiness is only readiness.
I stepped into the alley. The ash beneath my feet had turned to dust. Wind moved again. That night I dreamed of floorboards breathing like lungs. And on the 8th night, 3 knocks echoed from inside my closet. Behind the code, someone had scratched 3 words into the plaster. Mind your feet.
A hollow is not an end. It is a vessel waiting to be filled. Beware what you pour into it.
Where gold cannot buy and blood is too common, secrets become the only currency worth trading.
Fragment from Ash and Ember. Folio Exiles. No one marks the black market on a map. It does not stay in one place long enough to be found. Some say it appears when the moon hides behind clouds for 13 breaths. Others whisper it rises from the ashes of forgotten towns, a place where witches barter things too dangerous for daylight. Whatever the truth, one thing is certain. Once you have seen it, it remembers you.
I found it by accident, or maybe it found me.
A letter appeared beneath my door one rain-soaked night. It was written in ink the color of dried blood, sealed with wax stamped in the shape of a crow's foot. It contained only 5 words. Bring nothing but your shadow. Curiosity dragged me out into the storm. The streets I knew bent into shapes I did in lanterns I had never seen flickered with green fire, and the air hummed like distant chanting. Then I saw the gate, wrought iron twisted into symbols older than language beyond it. The market breathed.
It was not a marketplace in the human sense. Stalls were carved from bones older than wood lanterns, floated without chains, pulsing like hearts. The ground was soft and warm beneath my feet, as if the earth itself was alive. Everywhere witches moved, some cloaked in shadows, others crowned with branches, one whose eyes burned like molten gold. They spoke in tongues that shifted with the wind, and yet I understood every word.
At the first stall, a woman with black feathers for hair sold silence, bottled shimmering like smoke. At another, a pale witch traded memories wrapped in dried leaves. A tall figure with no face offered tears collected from the eyes of dying stars. And deeper still, an old crone in a tattered shawl sold true names, each sealed inside a cracked glass vial.
What do you trade? She asked me, her voice the sound of dried paper tearing.
I have nothing, I said.
She smiled.
Everyone has something, a memory, a fear, a heartbeat, a promise.
I reached into myself and felt the weight of my shadow. All my mistakes, regrets, and sins bundled into something shapeless. It was heavier than I expected. I placed it on the stall. The ground trembled slightly as the market accepted the offering.
The crone handed me a small pouch. Inside was a stone blacker than night, pulsing faintly as if alive. This will let you walk unseen by those who would harm you, she whispered. But every gift is a debt someday. The market will call for payment.
Before I could ask what that meant, the lanterns dimmed. A low hum rolled through the stalls as the witches turned their eyes skyward. The clouds above parted for a heartbeat, and in the void beyond them, something vast moved.
It was not a creature, nor a storm, more like a presence. ancient and patient, watching us all.
Time to go. The crone said the market closes when it is seen.
The ground beneath me shifted, the stalls dissolved into smoke, the lanterns into embers, the gate shrank to a sliver, and the whispering faded until I stood alone in the rain-drenched street, a small pouch clutched in my trembling hands.
I returned home before dawn. No one believed my story. The pouch sits on my shelf, still pulsing faintly, still warm, and sometimes when the moon hides behind clouds, I hear a soft knock at my door.
It always comes 3 times.
Trade with care, for bargains do not end when the coin is spent. Some debts walk on 2 legs and know your name.
Anonymous witch of the market.
A mirror remembers everything it has seen. It never lies. It only waits for you to look long enough to see the truth.
From ash and ember, folio time. They say every mirror is a doorway, but most of us never learn the language to open it. Some doors swing wide for blood, others for breath, and a few, the most dangerous ones, open for nothing more than a name spoken in the right silence. The witch who taught me this was long dead when I met her dead, and yet waiting. It began with a gift, my grandmother's mirror, tall and framed in black oak, arrived wrapped in linen. It has been in our family for centuries. The letter said it is time it watched over you. I placed it in my room, against the wall opposite my bed that night. I dreamed of eyes watching me from the glass. They were not mine. At first it was small things. My reflection blinked a heartbeat too late. Its smile lingered longer than mine. Then one night, I awoke to find the mirror glowing faintly, like moonlight trapped beneath water. My reflection was gone. In its place stood a woman I had never seen. Hair the color of ravens, eyes deep as wells. She raised her hand against every instinct. I raised mine too.
The surface rippled beneath my touch.
A whisper seeped into my thoughts, soft and cold.
Name yourself.
I spoke my name aloud. The glass swallowed it, and the room around me dissolved. I was no longer in my room, but standing in a narrow corridor of mirrors stretching into forever. Each one showed a different version of me. Younger, older, kinder, crueler. And behind every reflection, something shifted in the shadows too fast to see clearly. At the corridor's end, she waited. The woman from the mirror wrapped in a cloak woven from ink and starlight. "You have opened the gate," she said.
Now you must decide who steps through. I don't understand.
I whispered.
Every spell is a choice, she replied. And every choice changes more than you know. What you call a reflection is only a mask behind it. The mirror shows who you might become.
She gestured to the rows of mirrors in one. I saw myself with power crackling from my fingertips. In another, I was alone, older, bitter. In a third, I wore a crown of ash and spoke words that bent the air around me. I could feel each possibility tugging at me, begging to be chosen.
What happens if I choose nothing?
I asked.
Then the mirror chooses for you, she said. And it never chooses kindly.
The corridor trembled, the mirrors began to hum. Faces screamed silently from within the glass. Not mine, not human. Shadows crawled closer from the edges of sight. My heartbeat thundered in my ears.
I want to go back, I said.
Remember this.
She whispered.
A mirror is not just a thing you look into.
It is a thing that looks back.
The corridor shattered like ice. I woke on the floor of my room. The mirror dark and still. A crack split the glass from corner to corner. And within that crack, a faint light pulsed like a heartbeat. When I reached out, my reflection blinked in perfect time with me again. But in the farthest edge of the glass, a second pair of eyes watched from deep within, patient and knowing.
It has been weeks since that night I covered the mirror with a cloth. But sometimes, in the deepest part of the night, I hear it whispering my name. Not as I am, but as I might be.
And though I never answer, I find myself standing before it again and again, hand trembling, breath held, waiting to see if the glass will ripple once more.
Beware the mirror that speaks. It remembers more of you than you ever will. And it never forgets what you almost became.
Fragment from the 13th Moon Codex.
Blood remembers what mouths forget. Under the 13th moon, every oath must be fed. From ash and ember, folioed exeques. There are 13 moons in the witch's calendar, 12 for the turning of the seasons. And one that should not be, a hidden moon. Born of silence and shadow, it does not rise every year, it does not rise for every eye. But when it does, it demands a price. I learned of the 13th moon from an old book bound in leather that smelled of rain and smoke. It was not supposed to be in the library's locked cabinet, but there it was, humming faintly when I touched it. On the last page, written in ink the color of dried blood, were 6 words. The moon calls, and blood must answer. I should have left the book alone instead. I followed its instructions. The ritual began on the night the sky felt heavier than it should. The stars burned dull, as if something vast pressed between them and the world. At the edge of Black Hollow Forest, I found the clearing the book described. A perfect circle of stones older than any map. The ground there pulsed like a heartbeat beneath my boots. I was not alone. 5 figures stood in the shadows, cloaked and silent. Their faces were hidden, but their eyes glowed faintly red. Like coals under ash, without a word, they formed a circle around me. One extended a hand, pale and scarred, offering a blade carved from bone.
Blood remembers. They whispered as one. Blood opens the 13th gate.
I hesitated, the blade was light, but it felt impossibly heavy in my palm. I pressed it to my skin. Just enough to draw a single drop. It fell to the ground and vanished before it touched the earth. The air shuddered, the forest held its breath, and the clearing lit with a light that was not light at all. A glow too deep for sight, felt only in the bones. The moon rose not silver, not white, but black, a hollow orb swallowing the stars around it. It should not have been there. It should not have existed. And yet it watched. The cloaked figures began to chant in a language that felt like teeth scraping stone. The ground trembled, the stones bled shadows. A shape unfolded from the darkness, not a creature, not a woman, but something between. It wore a crown of roots and bones. Its eyes were the same black as the moon above, and its voice was inside my skull, cold and intimate.
You have called. It whispered, what will you offer?
I don't know. I stammered.
It smiled without lips. Then I will take what you forget.
My chest burned, memories I didn't know I had tore loose. Childhood laughter, a name I once loved. A promise I had whispered to someone long gone. They slipped from me like water from a broken vessel. I tried to scream, but the voice spoke again.
This is the price of sight. Blood is not the sacrifice, memory is.
The shadows coiled around the blade in my hand. It vanished, and with it the wound on my skin. I felt hollow and heavy all at once. The moon pulsed, the figure began to fade, dissolving into the air like smoke drawn upward.
Do not call again, it said, not unless you are ready to give everything.
The light snapped away, the moon above was gone, replaced by the pale silver orb I had always known. The figures vanished too, as if they had never been. Only the circle of stones remained, and the faint pulse beneath my feet, slower now but still alive. I stumbled home before dawn. My memories felt thinner, like a book with pages torn out. And in the mirror by my door, I did not quite recognize the face staring back. It was mine, but not entirely. Someone was missing.
It has been weeks since that night. The wound on my palm never appeared. Yet every time I look at the moon, I feel it watching me, counting down to a night that should not exist. And deep inside, something whispers. The gate remembers your name.
Never trust the moon that does not belong. It remembers the blood it was promised.
From the Codex of 13 Shadows.
A circle unbroken still craves. A circle without a voice will whisper until one answers. From ash and ember, folio, XX, I. They called themselves the Childless Coven, though none of them were truly without blood. They had daughters who bore their likeness and apprentices who carried their craft. But a coven is not satisfied with lineage written on paper. It wants a voice that echoes its power. It wants a soul born not from womb but from will. And for many seasons, when the night called, they had no one to answer. Their house stood where 3 forgotten paths crossed, a crooked shape of brick and ivy that seemed older than the ground beneath it. I was summoned there on a night heavy with rain, carrying nothing but the letter that had found me without a name. Come at moonrise. Bring nothing living. Leave nothing behind. The door opened before I reached it. 5 women stood inside, their hair silvered by years, their eyes sharp as new blades. They spoke as one. You were born between towns, between names, between breaths. That is the space where magic listens. Will you lend it your voice? I said yes before I understood the question. They seated me in a circle drawn from chalk so pale it glowed faintly in the candlelight. The air smelled of rosemary, ash, and rain. One woman placed a bowl of carved bone before me, and into it they each dropped a piece of themselves. A drop of blood, a lock of hair, a tear caught in a glass bead. Our line fades, the eldest whispered, spells grow weak. Wards forget their purpose. We need a vessel to call the lost one home. The bone bowl hummed with something older than sound. The air pressed against my chest. Call her. The scarred woman said she has waited too long. I did not know her name, so I reached inside the hollow spaces within me. The forgotten memories, the abandoned hopes, the aches I never named, I shaped them into a breath and spoke a word that was not a word. A sound born from longing itself. The candles bent inward, the chalk ring glowed, the bowl darkened and then flared with a deep silver light. From its depths came a voice, thin and fragile. I tried to come before the paths were wrong. A small presence stirred beside me, weightless and yet real, tiny fingers curled around mine. You were gonna call me Ashlyn, it whispered. I still want that name. The coven exhaled as one. The house shifted as if an old beam had been set into place. The presence tugged me gently toward a narrow wooden door at the end of the hall, sealed with ancient wax. That is where I was meant to be. Ashlyn said the witches placed 3 small tokens before it. A silver button, a pebble marked with a white ring, and a feather too dark to belong to any bird. A keeping, a path, a wing. One said softly, another leaned forward and breathed upon the wax. It melted like snow. The door opened onto darkness that was not empty but full. Of warmth, of possibility, of something that felt like a cradle carved from night itself. Ashlyn's presence hesitated. Will I forget you if I cross? No. Said the eldest, a circle never forgets what it brings forth. The tiny finger slipped from mine and something passed through the door, not a child, not a ghost, but a beginning. The darkness pulsed once like a heartbeat and then stilled. The house sighed in relief. The coven smiled quietly, not as conquerors, but as mothers who had waited too long for a cry. I left before dawn. The rain had stopped, but the earth still smelled of birth and ash. When I reached the crossroads, I felt something watching. Not with eyes, but with memory. And for a heartbeat, I thought I heard a child laughing softly in the wind. A coven without heirs is a story unfinished.
It does not seek blood, only memory. And memory, when spoken aloud, can be reborn.
From the 13th Moon Codex.
Some books are not read. They are fed. Ink is only the beginning. From ash and ember. Folio exequae. They say witches do not write books, books write witches. They grow like wounds sealed with leather and teeth, whispered into being by voices older than paper. And of all these cursed tomes, none is feared more than the book that screams. Some say it was written from the skin of those who spoke forbidden names. Others believe it was never written at all, but born, a spell that grew until it could no longer stay inside its caster. Whatever its truth, it was never meant to be opened by human hands. I found it in the ruins of an old apothecary. The building had burned centuries ago, but the cellar remained a labyrinth of soot-black walls and shelves bowed under the weight of forgotten things. Among the ashes I found a chest bound in iron, sealed with 7 locks of different shapes. 6 were already broken. Only one remained. As I touched it, the lock snapped open on its own inside, wrapped in a shroud of cobwebs and soot. Lay the book. Its cover was warm, not like sunlight, but like flesh symbols I could not read crawled across it, shifting when I tried to focus. It did not have a title, it did not need one. The air around it hummed, heavy as a storm. Against every warning I had ever heard, I opened it. The first page was blank, the second was too, but on the third, words began to bloom, written not in ink, but in something darker. Something that pulsed faintly. The letters rearranged themselves as I read, spelling out a single sentence. Feed me. I felt a sharp sting on my finger. A bead of blood fell onto the page, and the book sighed, a sound like distant breath. The letters shifted again. Ask. I asked it for knowledge. The room answered with a scream. It came not from the book, but from inside me. A voice I did not know I carried. The cellar trembled. The walls wept moisture, though no water was near. Words began to pour from the pages, not written but spoken, whispering spells older than language. Some I understood, though I wished I hadn't. Others clawed at the edges of my mind, begging to be spoken aloud. Then I heard her, a voice buried beneath the whispers, raw and pleading. Close it, she cried. It remembers everything you give it. I tried. The book would not shut. Its pages turned on their own, faster and faster, each one screaming in a different voice. I saw faces forming in the parchment, men, women, children, all mouthing words I could not hear. I slammed the cover with all my strength. But it was like trying to silence the wind. The voices poured into me, filling the hollow spaces of my memory, twisted my thoughts into shapes that were not mine. Do not fight, the book whispered. Let them speak through you. I ran, I left the apothecary and fled into the night. But the voices followed. They speak even now in dreams and in waking, teaching me spells I do not want to know. And the book, I did not take it with me. I swear I left it there, in the cellar. Yet 2 nights later it was waiting on my desk, open to a page I had not seen before. A new sentence pulsed across it, written in that same dark ink. You cannot close what remembers. I keep it locked in a box now, wrapped in iron chains. Still, I hear it calling in the quiet hours, whispering from behind the woods. Sometimes the whispers are in languages I have never heard. Sometimes they speak with my own voice. Some knowledge does not belong to the living. It only borrows their breath until the next reader comes. From the 13th Moon Codex. A forest keeps what it is given. Bones become roots, names become paths. From ash and ember, leaf of bark, Ashwood forest begins where the roads forget their names. Beyond the last crooked signpost, the trees knit themselves into a ceiling of green and shadow. And the air turns cold as breath left too long in the dark. Locals say the forest remembers every soul that steps beneath its canopy. Some it returns, some it keeps, and some it changes beyond recognition. I entered Ashwood just after dusk, when the sun had bled into a bruised sky and silence clung to the branches like cobwebs. The path was barely more than a suggestion, a faint trail carved by feet that had long since stopped walking. The deeper I went, the heavier the air grew, thick with the smell of damp earth and something faintly metallic like old blood. Soon even the wind dared not follow. The forest had taken hold of me. The first sign was a charm dangling from a low branch, a circle of twigs bound with hair still wet as though freshly woven. The second was a child's shoe, small and mud-stained, resting neatly in the center of the path. I stepped around both without touching them. The stories warn that the forest loved to see what you would pick up, and once you accepted its gifts, it never let you go. Mist began to curl between the trunks as the last of the daylight vanished. A lantern's glow flickered in the distance, swinging gently as if carried by an unseen hand. Drawn to its light, I followed until a voice soft as wind through pine needles whispered behind me, "Do not step where the moss still grows." I turned, but there was no one there. Only the suggestion of a figure deeper among the shadows, her shape dissolving as soon as I looked directly at it. I pressed on the path, narrowed, then disappeared altogether. Yet my feet moved as if guided branches brushed against my shoulders. Some soft as feathers, others sharp as bone. A stream appeared ahead. Shallow and silent stones crossed it like stepping places. And carved into the nearest one was a symbol I did not recognize, glowing faintly as though remembering some long-forgotten ritual. When I stepped across, the water wrapped my ankles like cold fingers before releasing me reluctantly. Beyond the stream, the trees changed. Deep scars marked their bark, thin, deliberate cuts running from root to crown, forming symbols that shifted when I tried to read them. As I touched one, warmth pulsed beneath the surface like something alive beneath skin. "Do not count what the forest claims." The voice whispered again, closer now, almost beside me. This time she stepped into view. A woman draped in gray, her eyes dark as a storm and older than the path itself. "You brought your name with you," she said. "That was unwise." I tried to explain that I was just passing through, but even as the words left my lips, I knew them to be lies. No one passes through Ashwood. The forest chooses how long you stay. It hungers tonight, she said softly. Too many promises, too little given. If you wish to keep what is yours, you must offer it something in return. I searched my pockets, a tarnished key, a red thread, a folded photograph. She ignored the first two, but paused at the third. This will do, she murmured. I left the photograph beneath the roots of an ancient tree as the earth swallowed it. The forest sighed, a sound like breath drawn through teeth. You may leave with your name, the woman said, but the forest knows your step now. It will follow you in small ways. Doors will swell in the rain. Strangers will remember your face. Promises will find their way back. I turned to speak, but she was gone, leaving only a faint impression of bare feet in the damp soil, slowly filling with clear water. I walked until the trees thinned and the air grew lighter, until the first gravel crunched beneath my boots behind me. The stream whispered a word that might have meant return or beware. I did not answer. At home that night, I swept mud from my floor and found a small white seed among the dirt, heavier than it should have been. Warm as a heartbeat, I placed it on the windowsill and told myself it was only a pebble. But in the morning, a gray ribbon I had never seen before hung from the inside of my door, damp and cold as breath.
At midnight, I swept mud from my floor and found a small white seed among the dirt. Heavier than it should have been, warm as a heartbeat, I placed it on the windowsill and told myself it was only a pebble. But in the morning,
a flame that refuses to die, remembers every name whispered to it. From Ash and Ember, Folio Exli. The 13th Candle was never meant to be lit. It was carved from beeswax harvested beneath a gallows tree, infused with ashes no priest would bless, and sealed with the breath of a witch who swore never to return. Yet every generation someone finds it and strikes a spark. And every time the same thing happens, the air changes, the night listens, and something long buried begins to stir. I found the candle in an attic that had forgotten its purpose. Dust clung to beams like frost, and the air smelled of secrets too old to be spoken. It sat alone in a cracked wooden box, its wax gray as storm clouds, its wick unburned despite the centuries. A scrap of parchment lay beside it, ink faded but legible. Do not light the 13th unless you wish her to come. I did not mean to light it truly. I did not, but curiosity is a hunger, and hunger wears down caution. That night, as rain tapped against my window and wind rattled the shutters, I struck a match and touched flame to wick. The candle flared to life instantly, its light too bright for such a small flame. Shadows leapt and twisted along the walls, forming shapes that did not belong to the room. At first, nothing happened. Then the air grew warmer, thick as breath on glass. A faint whisper rose, low and rhythmic. Like words spoken through water, I leaned closer. The flame bent toward me, though there was no breeze. One, it breathed too. Each number came softer, yet heavier, until it reached 12. Then silence. The room held its breath when the flame spoke again. Its voice was not a whisper, but a presence. 13.
The lights in my house flickered and died. The candle did not. Its flame swelled, and within it I saw a shape. A woman cloaked in darkness, her eyes like twin embers, who calls me. She asked, though her lips did not move, who dares break the promise? I stammered that I meant no harm, but the candle hissed as if mocking me. No harm was ever meant, she said, and yet here I am.
She stepped from the flame and into the room, her form both solid and smoke. Where she walked, the wood beneath her feet blackened. You have called the 13th, she said. And the 13th always collects. She moved closer, and though I tried to run, my body refused to obey. Every flame remembers, she whispered, and every memory demands a price.
What price? I asked, though I feared the answer. Her gaze softened, and for a moment she seemed almost human. A memory you cherish, she said, a moment you would weep to lose. Before I could protest, the room spun and darkness swallowed everything.
I awoke hours later. The candle burned halfway down, the floor was unmarked, the air still. But something was gone. I reached for the memory of my mother's voice and found only silence I tried to recall. The scent of the garden where I once played and grasped only emptiness. The 13th had taken her due.
I blew out the candle, but the wick glowed faintly, refusing to die. I locked it away in the attic again, sealing the box with salt and prayer. Yet some nights when the house is silent, I smell beeswax and hear a faint whisper counting softly in the dark. 1, 2, 3.
Never light the 13th flame without knowing what you are willing to forget. It always takes, and it never returns.
From the 13th Moon Codex.
Names cast into darkness do not vanish. They wait to be spoken back. From Ash and Ember, Folio XL5. At the heart of the forgotten village of Isleston lies a well that no one dares approach after nightfall. It has no rope, no bucket, no sign of use. Yet the water never runs dry. The old ones call it the Well of Hollow Names, and they whisper that it does not thirst for water, but for memory. Every name it swallows is never spoken again, not by the lips of the living, nor by the stones of the dead.
I found the well on a night when the moon was only a sliver, and the wind carried whispers that were not its own.
The forest had guided me there, though I had not planned the journey. A faint path of flattened grass led to a clearing I had never seen before. Even though I had walked that land since childhood, at its center yawned the well, ringed by stones slick with moss and time. It seemed shallow at first glance, but when I peered over the edge, I saw only blackness, endless and patient.
A small bundle rested on the stones, bound with twine. Inside was a torn scrap of parchment with one word scrawled upon it: speak. I hesitated. The story said the well answered any question if you offered it a name, but the name would vanish from the world, erased just as if it had never been uttered. Mothers had forgotten their sons, lovers their beloved, kings their own crowns, all for the promise of an answer.
Still, curiosity clawed at me. I whispered the name of a childhood friend I had not seen in years and waited. The darkness swallowed the sound without echo. For a moment, nothing. Then the water below stirred and a voice rose from its depths, hollow and ancient. She walks beneath the mountain, it said, but she does not remember you. A cold shiver crawled up my spine. The well had spoken the truth. Of that I was certain. But it had taken more than a name. I searched my mind for the sound of it, for the letters I had shaped with my mouth, and found only emptiness. I could picture her face, but I could no longer recall what she was called. The parchment fluttered again. Speak another. Against my better judgment I did. This time, I offered the name of the town where I was born. The well stirred once more.
It is gone.
The voice murmured.
The shadow remains, but no one remembers its name.
I tried to say it aloud, but the words slipped from my tongue like water through open fingers. It was gone.
Fear rooted me where I stood, yet I could not leave. The well hummed softly now as if pleased, and the darkness inside it swirled with faint light. A third time the parchment whispered, speak the one that matters most.
I knew what it wanted. It wanted my name. I turned to flee, but the clearing had changed. The path that had brought me was gone, replaced by gnarled roots and whispering trees. The air pressed against me, heavy as stone.
Speak, the voice urged again, no longer patient.
Speak, and you will never hunger again. I pressed my lips shut. I would not surrender myself. But then I heard another voice, soft, familiar, loving, my mother calling me by name. My heart leapt, and before I realized it, the words slipped from my tongue and fell into the dark.
Silence.
Then the well laughed. It was not cruel, but ancient and satisfied. Now you belong to us, it said. Now you are forgotten.
And with that, the world shifted.
I stumbled back toward the village, yet nothing recognized me. My house was empty. My neighbors looked through me as if I were air. When I spoke, they did not hear. And when I tried to write my name, my hand refused the letters. It was as if I had never existed.
Still, on quiet nights, I return to the edge of the forest and listen. If I stand very still, I can hear the well whispering the names it has devoured. And sometimes, just sometimes, I think I hear mine among them, spoken by a voice that sounds like my own.
A name given is a thread cut. A name forgotten is a door left open. Beware which you choose to lose.
From the 13th Moon Codex. A mirror is not a reflection. It is a door, and every door remembers what has passed through.
From ash and ember, fully alive. The mirror had no frame, no ornament, no hint of beauty. It was a simple pane of black glass, dull and cold, leaning against the far wall of the attic. Dust had gathered around it like a moat, yet the surface itself was spotless, untouched by time. My grandmother warned me never to uncover it. never to speak before it after midnight. It listens, she used to say. And if it learns your name, it will never stop calling.
I was 16 when I first stood before it. Curiosity and arrogance are close cousins. And both had taken root in me that summer I wiped the dust from its surface, expecting my reflection. But the mirror showed nothing. No face, no room, only darkness, deep and endless. As I leaned closer, I thought I saw movement. A ripple, like breath against glass.
At first I laughed it off as imagination. Then the whisper came, faint, curious, who watches? I stumbled back, heart hammering, but the attic remained still, who watches? The voice asked again, this time with the lilt of a smile. I should have fled. Instead, I answered. I spoke my name.
The darkness stirred, a pale hand pressed against the other side of the glass. Fingers too long, nails like splinters of bone, a face followed, hollow-eyed, mouth curved into something too wide to be human. Now I know you, she breathed. And now you cannot leave.
I fled the attic, but the damage was done. That night I dreamed of the mirror, I stood before it again. Though I knew I was asleep, she was there, watching, mimicking my movements, a heartbeat too late. Soon, she whispered, soon you will step through. I woke drenched in sweat, but my reflection in the wardrobe glass smiled half a second after I did.
The days that followed grew stranger, mirrors warped around me. Their surfaces rippling as if disturbed by invisible hands, reflections blinked when I did not once. I caught my double-mouthing words I had not spoken. Come closer. I covered every mirror in the house, but it did not matter. Her whisper slipped through walls, through windows, through dreams.
One night, unable to resist, I returned to the attic. The black mirror waited, its surface alive with faint pulses of light. Say your name again. She coaxed, say it. And I will open the way. Against my will, my lips parted. My name slid into the dark like a stone into deep water. The mirror shuddered and the surface softened like water. A chill swept over me as fingers closed around my wrist from the other side.
I fought, but the pull was relentless. Step through, she urged, her voice now inside my head. The attic vanished. The darkness swallowed everything.
I awoke on the other side. It looked like my attic, yet wrong, stretched, colorless, humming faintly like a dying star. The mirror now reflected the world I had left, and in it stood someone with my face, my hands, my smile. But their eyes were not mine. They were hers, thank you, she whispered, raising her hand in farewell. Then she turned and walked into my life, leaving me behind the glass.
I screamed, but no sound escaped. I pounded against the mirror. But no one heard. The world moved on without me. Days or weeks or centuries, I cannot tell, have passed. I watch through this dark pain as she lives my life, speaks with my voice, wears my skin. And every night when the moon rises, she stands before the mirror and whispers to it.
Who watches?
And somewhere far beyond this prison, someone answers with their name. The mirror ripples. Another hand presses through.
Never speak your name to the black glass it does not reflect, it remembers. And what it remembers, it keeps.
From the 13th Moon Codex.
Circles are not drawn. They are remembered by earth, by ash, by those who have stepped within and never returned. From ash and ember, folio vitae. They say the midnight circle appears only once each year. On the night when the thinnest veil separates the living from the forgotten. It is not a place you can find. It finds you paths twist, shadows lengthen. And before you realize it, you are standing where countless feet once formed a ring and countless voices whispered names not meant for daylight. Most who enter never speak of what they see. A few do not return at all. I never meant to join them. The night was cold, the moon a pale blade hanging low. I had wandered farther into the forest than I should have, chasing a story my grandmother used to tell, of a coven that gathered at midnight to renew their pact with something older than death. She said the ground itself bore the mark of their circle, a scar that could never heal. I laughed at the tale once, but laughter fades quickly when the trees go silent. The wind stopped without warning. Even the insects held their breath ahead. The forest opened into a clearing I did not know existed. At its center was a ring scorched into the earth, perfectly round, black as soot and smooth as glass. The air inside it shimmered, as if holding its own breath. I stepped closer. The ground beneath my boots trembled. A faint hum rose from the circle, not sound but something deeper, a memory stirring. Then I heard them. Voices soft and distant, speaking a language older than stone. One by one, 13 figures emerged from the tree line, cloaked in shadows that clung to them like smoke. Their faces were hidden, their hands bare and pale. None of them walked. They glided. They formed a ring, each stepping precisely into the blackened groove as if drawn there by invisible strings. The hum deepened into a chant, low and steady, vibrating through my bones. Though I could not understand the words, I felt their meaning. Invitation, binding exchange. One of them turned toward me beneath the hood. Two eyes glowed faintly red, not with anger but recognition, a witness, she said, her voice carrying without sound. Or perhaps an offering. Before I could flee, my legs froze, the earth held me still. The figures raised their hands as one, and the air within the circle rippled like water. A shape formed above it, vast, shifting, impossible to define. It was not a body, but a presence, something ancient and hungry, something that had never been meant to walk beneath the sun. Its voice was not a sound, but a thought pressed into my skull. A name, a memory, a piece of the living. The figures turned their palms toward me. Will you give? The red-eyed woman asked. A name you carry, a pain you cherish, a memory that is yours alone. I felt something tugging inside me. Gentle but insistent images flashed before my eyes. My first breath, my mother's hands, the taste of rain as a child. I clung to them terrified. No, I whispered. The circle pulsed, the presence grew darker, heavier, as if disappointed. Then it will choose. The chant rose again, sharper now, my breath caught in my throat, and then silence. When I opened my eyes, the clearing was empty. The circle was gone. The forest hummed with life once more. I stumbled back toward the village, heart racing, every shadow a threat. I told myself I had imagined it. But when I tried to recall the name of the street where I was born, it was gone. When I searched my mind for the sound of my father's laugh, I found only silence. The circle had taken its due. Now, each year as that night approaches, I feel the pull again. A whisper in the dark, a tremor beneath my feet. Sometimes if I walk too far into the trees, I swear I hear the chant begin once more. Those who walk the midnight circle never leave unchanged. It takes what you do not offer and remembers what you wish to forget. From the 13th Moon Codex. Light is a promise, and every promise calls something home. From ash and ember, folio lilac signed. They say the lantern witch walks only where a flame refuses to die. No one knows her name, but all know her bargain, light her way. And she will grant you what your heart most craves for a price you will never see until it is too late.
Her legend is old as the soil beneath the pines, and yet every generation someone tries to summon her, believing they will be the one who pays nothing at all.
It was autumn when I first heard her name spoken aloud. The elders warned us never to leave a lantern burning past midnight, never to let its flame burn without purpose. But that night, I was desperate. My sister had vanished into the marsh 3 days before, and no search had found her. So I carried a lantern into the forest, its light small but stubborn, and whispered into the darkness, I seek her. The woods were silent, but listening mist clung to the roots and drifted low over the path, curling around my boots like ghostly fingers. I walked deeper until the air grew heavy and the trees too close. That was where I first saw the lights, not fireflies, not torches, but pale floating sparks that swayed in rhythm with my steps. They led me off the path and into a clearing I had never seen before. At its center stood a figure cloaked in ragged cloth, a lantern in her hand brighter than any flame I had known. The light within it did not flicker, it pulsed like a heartbeat. Her face was hidden beneath a hood, but I felt her eyes on me, ancient and knowing. Why have you called me? She asked, though her lips did not move.
My sister, I said, I want her back.
The witch tilted her head, and the lantern's glow deepened. A soul lost can be found, she said softly. But every path must be lit. Will you give me what I require? I asked what that was, but she did not answer. Instead, she gestured for me to follow. We walked deeper into the woods, her light guiding the way.
Shadows writhed at the edges, shapes that shifted when I tried to focus. At last we reached the edge of the marsh where the fog was so thick it seemed to breathe there. Half submerged in the water stood my sister. Her eyes were open but empty, her lips parted in a soundless cry.
She lingers between.
The witch said, "Call her and she will hear."
But light the path, or she'll not find the way.
I lifted my lantern, but the flame faltered.
Your light is weak, she whispered. It carries no promise. A stronger flame is needed.
What do you mean? I asked. The witch turned, and though I could not see her face, I knew she was smiling.
The brightest light is born from what you love most. Will you burn it?
My heart pounded. I understood what she meant, to sacrifice not of blood, but of memory.
What must I give?
I asked. The memory that binds you to her, she replied. The laughter, the tears, the first time you spoke her name, burn them. And the light will guide her home.
I hesitated. Without those memories, who would she be to me? Who would I be to her? But then I looked at her, still trapped between worlds, and I knew my answer. I whispered the memories into the flame.
One by one, they left me.
The sound of her laugh, the warmth of her small hand, the night we swore never to part.
The lantern blazed brighter than the moon.
My sister gasped and stumbled forward, crossing from the marsh into the clearing.
Her eyes were clear now, her voice trembling as she called my name, but it sounded strange, distant. I stared at her face and felt only emptiness. She embraced me, and I could not return it. She was a stranger wearing someone I once knew. The lantern witch nodded. Once the path is lit, she said, the promise is kept. Then she turned and vanished into the mist, her light fading into the dark. Now she stands in the next room, calling me brother, and though I know I once loved her, I cannot remember why.
The brightest flame is not fed by wax or oil, but by memory.
From bone, life grows again. But not all life remembers the shape it once wore. From ash and ember, folio elixviine. They say there is a place deep within the valley where no tree dares to grow and no bird dares to sing. The ground is pale and cracked and bones bloom there instead of flowers. It is called the Bone Orchard, and the witch who tends it is older than memory and patient as the grave. She is said to harvest not crops but souls, planting what once was living and reaping what should never rise again. I found the orchard on an evening when the mist clung low to the ground, and even the wind held its breath. I had been searching for my brother, gone these many weeks without a trace. All paths had failed me except one, the path of whispers and forbidden names which led here. At first I thought it was a cemetery. White shapes jutted from the soil, curved and hollow, and when I knelt to touch one, I realized it was a rib. The ground itself was built from what had been alive. A figure moved among the rows, slow and deliberate. She wore a cloak the color of grave dust, and her hair fell long and gray as cobwebs. In her hand was a staff crowned with a skull that still hummed faintly with forgotten breath. She did not startle at my presence. "You seek what the earth has swallowed," she said, her voice low and cracked like dry wood. "All who come here do." My brother. I whispered I want him back. She turned her gaze toward a patch of freshly turned soil. There, a single bone sprouted from the earth like a sapling. Every soul planted here must grow, she said. But when it returns, it is never as it was. It remembers and forgets in equal measure. Would you still wish it? I nodded, though fear knotted my gut. The witch gestured for me to follow as she walked between the rows. Bones of every size and shape pushed from the soil. Femurs entwined with delicate finger bones, skulls blooming like pale blossoms. Each bone holds a story. She murmured, each story a price. We stopped before a pit ringed with stones etched in runes at its center. A skeleton lay coiled like a seed. If he is here, this is where he sleeps, she said. But to wake him, something living must take root in his place. She looked at me with eyes that seemed to see through blood and bone. Will you give part of yourself? What part? I asked, my voice barely more than air. The memory of your laughter, she said. The warmth of your heartbeat when you were still unbroken. It will feed the soil. It will make him grow. My hands trembled. To lose such things was to lose part of myself, yet I had come this far. I agreed. She pressed her palm to my chest and cold flooded through me. My heart faltered, then resumed, slower, quieter. I felt something leave me. Something I had never thought I could lose. The soil stirred. The bones shifted slowly, painfully. They knit together, forming shape and shadow until a figure rose from the pit. It was my brother, or at least it wore his face. His eyes were empty at first, then filled with faint recognition. Sister, he asked, his voice hollow but warm. I reached for him and felt nothing. No joy, no grief, no love, only emptiness where those feelings had once been. The witch nodded. The orchard has returned what was planted, she said. But remember, what is harvested here is not what was sown. I led him home beneath a sky that felt heavier than before. He walks beside me now. And though the world calls him my brother, I cannot remember what that word means. I traded more than memory that night. I traded the part of me that knew how to feel. The earth does not give without taking. What is sown in bone will rise again, but not as it was. From the 13th Moon Codex.
Fate is not written in stars or stone. It is spun from shadow, and shadow listens to every choice.
From ash and ember, folial and saffar. They speak of a witch who lives where the sun never reaches, in a cottage stitched from midnight and moonlight. They say she does not cast spells or brew potions. She weaves. With threads of darkness plucked from the spaces between breaths, she shapes the lives of those who seek her, twisting joy into sorrow or despair into hope. Few dare to find her, for her work demands a price no coin can pay. I sought her on the longest night of the year, when the world itself seemed to pause between heartbeats. My life had collapsed into ruin. The harvest failed, debts mounted, and my daughter's illness grew worse each day. The story said the witch could change fate itself. And so I walked into the forest, guided by a single pale lantern and the desperate hope that something might listen.
The trees grew denser with every step, their trunks bending inward as if conspiring. The air grew colder, heavier, until the path narrowed to a thread beneath my feet. At last I saw it, a small cottage of black wood and silver glass, its roof glistening with frost that did not melt. Smoke rose from its crooked chimney, curling upward like dark silk.
The door opened before I could knock come. A voice said, soft but commanding inside. The cottage smelled of wax and winter shadows clung to the walls like cobwebs. At the center sat a loom unlike any I had seen. Woven not of wood or metal, but of bone, moonlight, and something that shimmered like frozen breath. A woman sat before it, her fingers pale and long, pulling threads from the air and weaving them into patterns that shifted as I watched.
"Why have you come?" she asked without looking at me. "To change what is." My voice shook as I told her of my daughter, of my hunger, of the weight that crushed every waking hour. "I want to change our fate." I said, "I want her to live."
The witch paused, her fingers hovering over the loom. Fate is not a tapestry you can cut and resew without cost. She said to weave one thread anew, another must be unraveled. I swallowed. What must I give? She turned her gaze toward me, and her eyes were pools of night. A memory of joy, a moment that defines who you are. Once it is gone, it cannot return.
I hesitated, but my daughter's face filled my mind.
Take it.
I whispered, "Take what you must."
The witch nodded and reached into the air before me. I felt a tug deep in my chest, as if something essential were being pulled from my bones. A warm memory surfaced. My daughter's first cry, the way her tiny hand clutched mine. Then it slipped away, fading into nothing.
The witch wove quickly, the threads moving like living things under her touch. The tapestry shifted, colors deepening, patterns twisting into new shapes. When she finished, she spoke a single word, "Done."
I stumbled outside, my head spinning. The forest seemed brighter now, the air warmer. When I returned home, my daughter was sitting by the fire, laughing, her cheeks flushed with life. She was healed, my heart leapt, but something was wrong. Her laughter stirred no memory. Her eyes, though familiar, felt like those of a stranger. The moment that had bound us was gone.
Days passed, we lived, we spoke, we smiled, yet a hollow grew inside me. A space where joy had once lived. At night, I dreamed of the witch in her loom, and I wondered whose thread she had unraveled to grant me this gift.
Now I walk past my daughter's room and hear her laughter, bright and unbroken. And though I know she is mine, I no longer know why I love her. That thread, once woven, is gone forever.
To weave is to unweave. Every fate rewritten phrase, another at the edge. Choose your threads with care. From the 13th Moon Codex.
Every spell is a promise, and every promise leaves a scar. From ash and ember, folio lurks. There is a story whispered in the villages near the Black Hollow about a witch who cast only one spell in her entire life. A final act so powerful that it burned her name from memory and sealed her soul beyond the reach of time.
They say the spell still lingers, waiting to be spoken again. But it demands a price far greater than any mortal would dare to pay. I heard the story since childhood, and like all tales told too often, I did not believe it. That changed the night my son fell ill with a sickness that no doctor could name and no healer could soothe. As his breaths grew shallow and the warmth drained from his skin, desperation drove me into the forest where no path dared to lead. There, deep among twisted oaks and ancient stones, I found the ruin the villagers feared, a hollow cottage half sunk into the earth, its door carved with runes too old to read. Inside, the air was thick with dust and the faint scent of herbs that had long since turned to ash. At the center stood a single stone altar. Upon it rested a bowl of blackened clay and a strip of parchment inscribed with a single sentence: "Speak your need and pay the price." My hands trembled as I held the parchment. My need was simple. I wanted my son to live. I whispered my plea into the stillness. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the air shifted, heavy and expectant. Shadows gathered at the edges of the room, curling inward until they formed the shape of a woman draped in tattered robes. Her eyes glowed faintly, not with malice, but with infinite weariness. "You ask for life," she said, her voice like wind through dry leaves. "Do you know what it costs?" "No."
I admitted, but I will pay it.
She studied me for a long time. "This is the last spell I ever cast," she said. "It will answer your plea. But every spell must balance itself. If life is given, life must be taken. If love is restored, love must be lost. Are you certain?"
I thought of my son, his smile, his small hand clutching mine.
"Yes," I whispered, "I am certain." The witch nodded and raised her hands. The room darkened until even my heartbeat seemed distant. "Then speak his name," she commanded. I did. The shadows trembled. "And speak what you offer." I hesitated. "Take anything," I said. "Take me." She shook her head. "Not you. The spell chooses." The shadows surged forward, wrapping around me like a cloak. I felt them reach beyond me, stretching far, searching. Then I heard it, a cry, soft and distant. From somewhere beyond the walls, it was my mother's voice calling my name. And then it was gone. A hole opened in my heart where her memory had been. I tried to recall her face and found only emptiness. The spell had taken her. The witch lowered her hands. "The balance is kept," she said. "Your son lives."
And then she was gone, leaving only silence and the faint scent of ash.
When I returned home, he was awake, his cheeks flushed with color, his eyes bright with life. He reached for me and I wept. Not with joy, but with sorrow, for I did not remember the lullabies my mother had sung to me, nor the warmth of her embrace. That part of me was gone, consumed by the spell's price.
Years have passed since that night. My son thrives, strong and happy, but sometimes he asks about the grandmother he has never met. I
I tell him I do not know, I cannot even remember if she ever existed. And in my dreams, I sometimes hear a whisper in the darkness.
One spell remains. I wake with the taste of ash on my tongue and the memory of a name I no longer know how to speak. The last spell is not the one you cast. It is the one that remembers what you were willing to lose. From the 13th moon.